I'm going to ask Stacey to step up here and help me, or I'll help him, with a demonstration of a fix that we want to get your feedback on. So.
Okay, I'm on, I think. This is going to be much more of a test than that you guys expected, because I'm clearly an office thug. I am not qualified to be doing this at all. So they don't let me out on job sites hardly ever, so because I usually create problems. So if I can do this, any qualified or unqualified, probably technician can do that. The idea is, as David was mentioning, again, this repair is very selective. It's only for projects to where you've done a representative number of cutouts, you've done different testing, and you've determined that in the structure there's no resultant damage from the water intrusion yet. So you've caught it early on. You've also done a few representative cutouts, and you've identified that the window installation, the penetration flashing, is acceptable and it's in good shape. So it's really, the problem is isolated to just a leaking window, if you can find that building. And they're out there. We've done this repair on 4 or 5 jobs over the last probably 3 to 4 years, and probably have fixed in the neighborhood of 500 windows with this repair. The concept is really an in-place window fix, so you avoid the cost and the expense of removing a window and replacing it with a new window. So David's doing a simple sill track test, so we just plug the weep holes. This is tape. You could use plumber's putty, anything you want. You fill the tray full with water. You can use fluorescein dye like you saw in there. We're just using water right now. The window did have an over-trimmed miter down here in the bottom corner. It was racked, and so we should, I haven't tested this one, but we should see some water leakage coming in.
Right back here.
So if you want to walk around to the other side, maybe we can see that water leakage coming in. Let's spin it around.
Spin it around so you can see them.
We're ready to spin it around anyway.
See that? Yeah.
The sill track test has you monitoring water levels for 15 minutes.
The other thing that you saw from this method of installation, and depending on how it's done, not necessarily ASTM standards, but a variety of window manufacturers have call out for different standards of window installation and penetration flashing. But oftentimes we run into projects to where the bottom sill flange is going to have a piece of self-adhered membrane on there as well. So you're really trapping the water inside there if you indeed have a window that leaks on its own. And there's really no way for the water to get back out. Okay, we're going to stop the sill track test. So this is a simple test that we do, as David had mentioned. We test every window right off the truck when we buy new vinyl and aluminum windows. It's very simple. We just set up a jig, put the windows in there. We've got a guy that just runs the sill track tests on every one of them. And again, those are the results that we find with brand new windows off the truck, and that's why we continue to sill track test windows. Even though our installation detail accounts for a leaky window in the future and waterproofs the rough opening, we'd like to get started with a window that doesn't leak, is the idea. Okay, in the interest of time, moving along. So if you can see this, this is a rather unusual window. So the profile, the jam profile here in this, there's a dry cell, In a wet cell, there's actually 3 or 4 chambers in there moving inside to out. But that profile is pretty skinny. A lot of times they're a little bit thicker, so you have a little bit more room. So I'm going to try and drill a hole right in here. So this is inside somebody's unit. I'm looking outside the window. We've got interior finishes and a window liner around. And I'm going to come in and try to drill a hole right there. And before I go too far, I'm going to make sure I have a rough idea how far I'm going so I don't drill all the way through to the exterior of the window. That would be a difficult one to fix. So I'm going through those different chambers, and we'll see those hopefully. I think I've got one more. Yep, there's one more there. So, with this borescope, and there's a variety of different borescopes, this is a fairly simple one, quite inexpensive actually. I kind of need to be able to see that. So you can see the hole. I don't know. Yep, you can. I'll just look there. And you can see there's one chamber, the outer chamber, there's another chamber, third chamber. So that helps me identify that there's 3 chambers in there. Okay. Do the same thing right here. Okay. Now we have a little bit of compressed air here, pretty simple compressed air. We'll try to blow that chamber out, or that cavity out. Let's look one more time with the borescope, David. Going to take one more peek with the borescope and see what we can see. Can't quite see the bottom there. Okay. Now I'm going to take a little gauge and mark the depth. I have a piece of tubing here. And David's going to do that for me, and he can feel where those different chambers are with that little feeler gauge, and then mark that with just a Sharpie, because I want to know about where those 3 chambers that we saw were on the borescope. While he's doing that, I'm going to set up with a really small caulking gun. You want to show this? This specially formulated flowable sealant material produced by PROSOCO. And the concept is the material is going to be injected in there. It'll flow down. If there's any excess moisture in there, it'll find the over-trim miter or the crack or the cracked piece of vinyl, and it'll flow through there, actually go through water if it needs to, find that area flowable, and seal that up, and it's a permanent repair and flexible in the future.
So we've marked the injector tube with the depths of the various cells. This is the inner face of the outer face of the window. You've got the first, what's a wet cell, you've got some dry cells, and the final wet cell here.
Go ahead.
So we're given about, on this gun,
You turn down.
about 2 squeezes, 2 lift squeezes, and the tube is not yet charged, so.
There you go.
We're backing out to the next level. Backing out to the, I'm monitoring the marks on this tube. And then to the final level.
Now, what you might find is that, and on the projects that we did with this, you'll come back in and you'll run that same sill track test about 45 to 60 minutes later to give the product enough time to find the area, flow down, and seal that up. Sometimes, from our experience, most of the time it got it and the sill track passed, but occasionally you'll find that the leakage was reduced significantly, 90-95%, but there's still a small leak. You can just come right back in and install a little bit more material in there, and it'll bond directly and monolithically to the existing material that you put in just earlier. So sometimes it takes a little while. You need to retest. So we're not going to have time right now to be able to retest that, or the sill track test. But we'll have it at the booth if anybody wants to see if the repair actually worked. Swing by the booth and we'll see. The neat thing about this is pretty minimally invasive, actually, as far as architecturally. You're not impacting the interior finishes. You come in, a technician with a cart, pretty simple tools. Everything here is what you've seen. Borescope, you don't need a laptop. You can get a borescope that actually has a viewfinder right on the borescope. And then you can come in and install these little buttons. And I can do that real quick. You install these little buttons right over the repair. And most people probably would look at the window and not even know that it was there. Here, let me set it down there for you. I got it. That's bad. Okay. Why don't you keep going, David? I think we're...
So that's the repair of the interior finish. You're going to wipe up any excess material that may be on the frame, in this case with IPA, and the repair is essentially done. These repairs are being done from the interior side, so one of the benefits of these repairs is you can do it without having to pay for access equipment. You can do it in occupied units, and for reasons I'll go into, these materials are kind of ideal for that kind of use.
And that's it. It's that fast.